Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Off the Market.
Episode 2, season 2.
Yes, thank you for the clarification.
Welcome back.
All right, so today we're going to talk about client stories. That was actually one of the most voted things on our Instagram story when we asked what people want to hear more of.
Yes.
Client stories. So I know that you have, a good amount in your back pocket. I have a few.
Yes, I actually want to know your stories because I'm very curious about it. And it's not like we go around talking about our clients, but every once in a while,
You get that one.
get that one character.
It just stays in your mind forever.
Forever, ever.
You'll never forget it. I'll start with the most recent one,
All right, let's hear it.
which was, so I didn't even meet her. She called me, this lady, out of nowhere, and she was looking for a place to rent. She was like, I'm living in this community in Rancho Mirage. I need a place to live. I've been renting the same place for, X amount of years, but the lady's coming back, so I need to move. So anyways, okay, cool. Yeah, definitely I can help you. Okay. So I met her. I showed her a few properties online, then I met her in person, and I picked her up, which is unusual. I don't like to pick people up. If they're cool, then fine. But I've never met this person before in my life, so I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll pick you up. So I picked her up, Rancho Mirage, and this lady comes out, and I immediately just got like a really weird feeling in my stomach.
Okay, but you picked her up from her house.
I did.
But you spoke and you're like, hey, Susan. Just call her Susan.
Yes, Susan. So we spoke on the phone.
Okay.
So I'd never met her, but she was like, I want to go see these properties to rent. Can you pick me up? So I was like, yeah, sure, fine. If I've met you before, fine, but I've never met you before. So anyways, picked her up, and she comes out, and immediately I just get this kind of weird feeling in my stomach. Okay. And she looked scary. Oh. And
Monica was like, wait, I'm scared.
and not scary like scary, like, woo, you know what I mean? She was scary, like she was very, very, very pale, and she was like super like frail, and she had on like this big hat, and so it was just like kind of
like hiding, huh?
It was just like kind of freaky, right? But and I had that thought in my head, like, should I just go?
No, you didn't. But
then I was like, no, So I picked her up, and she just the whole time had like this weird vibe. She was nice, but I can sense weird vibes off of people, and she's one of those people that I felt that with. And she seemed like one of those types. Like, we went to go see some houses, and I was kind of watching my back the whole time, because she seemed like one of those people that all of a sudden I turn around, she'd just be like,
Was there anything in particular that like immediately gave you that? Did you sense any of that over the phone? Because
I honestly, over the phone, I just thought that she was kind of a weirder older lady, but it doesn't matter if you're weird, people are weird, but I think it was the whole vibe of being a little weird on the phone, and then when I saw her in person, and then just kind of her energy when she got into the car. Oh, I forgot to mention, the first time I met her, we leave and we're going to go see houses, and she's like, hey, do you mind stopping at the post office? Just super quick. I just have to run something in there. And I was like, in my head, what? Like, no. But of course, too nice. I was like, yeah, sure. It's on the way. And she's like, I'll be 2 minutes. I'm in the parking lot. I think I texted you. I'm in the parking lot for literally 20 to 25 minutes.
That's insane.
Waiting for this lady at the post office. Insane. So immediately, weird
first
vibe.
Time?
Yeah, first time meeting her. Weird vibe, weird look, weird request. So then I go and show her these houses, and these are houses that are like $7,500 a month. They're like more expensive. And every time that we'd go into a house, she would just be like, this house is not as beautiful as mine, like just boasting about the house that she doesn't even own, that she's rented for forever. And then she'd finally be like, okay, yeah, like, let's do this one, because I have to be out of my house by this date. And I'd be like, okay, well, it's $7,500 or whatever X amount of money that each house was. They're all different. And then she'd be like, okay, well, I want to offer this. And it was always like $2,000 to $3,000 less than what they were asking.
Oh my goodness.
And I kept trying to tell her, like, this isn't going to work. You know, it's season. It was in season. Like, this was probably back in November, December. So season starting. And then she was like, well, you know, nobody has rented out these places yet. So wouldn't they rather get something than nothing? And I was like, not necessarily. Like, some people don't need the money. And yeah, I'm sure the money's nice, but they have pride about their home, and they're not going to just take, you know, $2,000 because to have some extra money out of in their pocket. Like, they don't need it, you know? So I met her twice, and actually the first time I dropped her off, she always wanted to be dropped off at a grocery store, which I thought was weird too. So the second time I picked her up, same thing actually. She didn't ask me to stop at the post office, but she asked me to drop her off like at an Albertsons. And then kind of by that time I just was...
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you stop at Albertsons and wait for her?
No, it was just like it was just a drop off.
Got it.
Like goodbye. And then and then the last time that I ever met with her, I only met with her I think twice, which it's fine. It would have been a really big waste of time if it was more than that. She kind of did the same thing about a house, and I kind of just got fed up with it. And I just was like, just told her, this is not going to work with what you're trying to offer. Then I dropped her off, and I actually found out this agent called me that I had shown her the property, and she called him and basically was asking him the same thing. And she
asked him, because I remember this, like say the market rent was $7,500. She asked him if he'll take less, right?
If the owner would. And then she also said that she had never seen the place and like all this stuff. So it was just very sketchy. So anyways, I called her, and this was the first client ever, still to this day, that I have ever fired. And I kind of think I was waiting for like something to happen where it's like, it wasn't my fault that I was firing you. It's like, it's your fault that I'm firing you. So I called her and I told her, hey, you know, this is not going to work out between us. We're no longer working together. And she got kind of upset, but then she just hung up, and then she tried to call me back, and then I never answered again.
Okay, but it was because it took the other agent calling you to say like, hey, your client's trying to re-rent this spot or rent the spot without you, or how did you and that agent speak?
So he called me because I had spoken to him before, and he called me, he was like, hey, is this your client, basically?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he called me.
So it took the other agent calling you to realize like, hey, this is your opportunity to kind of check in and just say, maybe this is not working out. How did that work?
So he basically just called me and was asking if this was my client. And then I asked him, she had an area code, not from California. I forgot, it was from like Ohio or something. And I just said, is it from this area code? And then he was like, yes. Was it a woman? Yes. So, okay. 2 and 2 equals 4, you know?
Yeah. So wait, did she get the house?
I don't know.
You're like, I'm done with her.
I have no clue. No, he actually called me a couple days later, and he was asking me about this person, and I just said, hey, I just recommend that you stay away. I just think that she wasn't really serious. Let's just say that. I think maybe she was a time waster, maybe just looking for some free rides. Maybe she was bored. I don't know. But either way, I'm glad I cut that off quick.
Honestly, it sounds like she was looking for a personal Uber driver from here to there, but also she probably really was looking for a house. But what I'm pretty impressed at is you cut it really quick, because honestly, we pick up strangers all the time in our car. Well, I shouldn't say strangers. You do qualify the buyer, make sure that they're legit. And then some of them say, take me to Disneyland.
I've taken 3 people in my car. 1 completely normal. I can't, probably shouldn't say normal. Okay.
Who's that? What happened there?
I've taken 3 people in my car. Okay. 1 was a very nice guy.
Okay.
Who was recommended on Facebook by like a family friend or something. Okay. And then the other 2 ended up being kind of like sketchy. So maybe I just have like bad experiences with it.
You're like, take your own car. Okay, for the
meet me there, please.
Meet you there. Well, I think real estate agents' worst nightmare, like back in the day, till today, is when your client's like, I'll just jump in the car with you.
Nah.
I'm like, oh my God, my car's not even clean. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yes.
So if we ever get the opportunity to work together, please give me a 24-hour heads up so I can go wash my car.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me that one time I went to Pioneer Town.
Oh yeah.
To meet, we'll call him
Joe.
Joe. So I went to meet Joe to show him a property, and he was with, his boys. And I guess his car was having some issues. So I pulled up to Pioneer Town. They were at Pappy and Harriet's. And I was like, let's meet there. And then you can follow me to, the house, because we're going to lose service. And he comes to my car window and he's like, hey, like something's wrong with my car. Can we just hop in your car? 1, my car's a mess. 2, my car is pretty small. And there were like 4 big dudes.
Oh my
And I was like, and then luckily one of his friends was like, no, dude, like we'll just take my car. And I'm like,
oh, you got so lucky.
yeah, I did. I was going to be like, this is going to be really awkward.
I'm laughing because while you were saying that, something else rang a bell to me where a client's car, they were following me. We were looking at some houses. Mm-hmm. And then like on house number 3, their battery died or something. So I'm like, oh my God. So obviously I'm like, oh, you guys can come in my car. Cause this time my car was super clean and I'm like so proud of myself. So they're like, okay, cool. We'll jump in your car. I forgot that I actually listened to the radio on like level 100.
Bleep.
And I had, I don't know what song, but it was like a rap song. And all it said was the F word like 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
I died. And they were obviously not the type of people that listened to the F word.
Or could maybe laugh at it. Did they laugh, or was it just kind of awkward silence?
It was like my second year in the business, and they were an older couple, and I was trying to be like the most professional realtor.
Yeah.
Like I knew what I was doing. And then I'm like, and then I turned it down, and it wouldn't turn down, and I just pushed the button to turn it off the radio because I was.
Oh my gosh,
out, so.
That is highly awkward.
It was so awkward, and then I get in the car, and I'm like, okay, so the next stop is going to be like this, and I'm like, do I adjust the music? And it all worked out because they actually ended up buying 3 houses from me.
Oh, nice.
In my career.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
I feel that even though when these things happen, they're super awkward and not fun and make you feel weird, but it's something that you can laugh at later for the most part. For the most part, they're things that you can laugh at later, or it's like a good story to tell to somebody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what else? It's pretty funny, the things that you do see or come across with your clients, because a lot of it too is like you're improvising, because things can go as planned, but if you're not ready for that curveball,
you can plan for things to go as planned, and then curveball.
Oh my God, the curveball. Because also it's like, sometimes we don't meet a lot of our clients until they fly in from Washington or Oregon or Minnesota, and they're like, okay, we'll meet at 123 Main Street on Tuesday at 5, and you're there Tuesday at 5, and you could either click or you don't. I still get nervous when I'm meeting brand new clients.
Yeah. I mean, I hardly have, most of my clients have been a person who's from out of town. Yeah. So they're from LA, or like you said, Oregon, Washington, and they're buying their second home, or they're relocating. So I've had honestly a few that have been just like a local move, but for the most part, they're people that are from out of town.
Yep. The funny thing is you meet so many different people in real estate and so many different characters that you're like, do I attract all the weird people?
Like,
or
is
are
it
you
me?
The weird one?
Yeah, exactly.
So there comes a point where you're like, I guess we're all normal, but we're just different. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, where things have gotten kind of funky is actually the things that become very litigious, where things get like creepy, like the story I shared last season with the doorbell situation, or the hoarders situation.
Yes.
Those instances are the ones that really creep me out. I would love to share the biggest one, which took a really big toll on me in 2021. To me, that's weird as F. Like those situations where...
Well, that's scary.
I had a buyer. I had a weird feeling from day one. That gut check? Mm-hmm. That's a real thing.
It is.
And, in our industry... I felt
that too. Remember my first story? I felt that.
You're right. So that gut check that you had, I totally understand that, because the very first time I met these people who were also recommended from another client, I had a gut check moment. And then I'm like, well, you got this. You're strong. You're smart. Da, 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 da.
You tried to kind of rationalize. Yes. Like what you're feeling, right?
100%. And I was like, nah, girl, get back to business. This is what it's about. So I'm like, okay, cool. Show a house. The first time I showed them the house, the sheriff's department showed up about 30 minutes later and I get a phone call. Okay, they left on their merry way. We cleared the air. No big deal. It was just a big misunderstanding. Well, little did I know what this kind of big misunderstanding was going to turn into. Show them another house. Long story short, down payment, the final down payment to close on this cash transaction is nowhere to be found. 3.5 weeks past our contingency, past our close date, calling my client MIA. Next thing I know, someone's getting arrested in Miami. Next thing I know, someone's getting served by the federal government and the IRS criminal department. And who was that? Your homegirl over here on a Friday in a Walmart shopping center.
What?
It was so creepy.
At Walmart?
At Walmart. I don't know why the heck I was going to Walmart. So I went to the Walmart shopping center in La Quinta and I pulled over and I get this phone call and it says Ogden, Utah. And I'm like, that's weird, but maybe it's somebody from Utah that wants to come snowboard in the desert. Yeah, it's a buyer.
It's a buyer.
Hi. Good afternoon, this is Amirah. And he's like, is this Amirah? And I'm like, yeah, good afternoon, this is Amirah. And he goes, this is federal investigator Bob Smith. And I'm like, what? And he goes, is your client? And says the client's name. And I said, oh, yeah. And he goes, well, do you know he's in prison and we're conducting a federal investigation? And then I was like, hold up, gut check number 2. Is this guy affiliated with my client who went MIA, who I now know is in prison because I found out that he was in prison. And then I'm like, holy crap, what if... So I said, if you're real, send me an email with your signature block and I'll wait on speakerphone. So I'm on speakerphone. He's asking me all these questions about who wants to interview me and talk about these people. And then he goes, check your email. So I check my email and sure enough, he sends me and it says, Bob Smith, criminal investigator for the FBI and the IRS. And I'm like, well, you know what? Canva. I was like, you could Photoshop that. I was like, I still don't believe you.
Yeah, I've seen that template on Canva.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? You know what? I bet you on Canva, you could make the same thing.
It's honestly true.
So I was like, wait, anybody can make a signature block. Like, I don't know how to do it, but I know if I tried, I can.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I still don't believe you. And he goes, Amirah, we could do this. And literally these lines that you hear in the movies, they get it from somewhere. He goes, Amirah, we could do this the hard way or we could do this the easy way. And I said, look, if you're real, you need to go to the police department because I know why he called. Mm-hmm. So I said, if you're real, you need to go to the police department, file a police report, and then I will talk. But until then, I'm not talking to you. Mm-hmm. He goes, are you sure? I said, you file something with the police department. I know you're real because how do I know you're not working for these guys?
Well, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. And it's true. People get scammed on the day to day. So who knows if this person was real or not? No. I'd see why you were weary on that.
Dude, click. I immediately call my mom and I'm like, Mom, you remember those clients I told you I wasn't feeling like really good about? And I was like really scared every time I would go out and show them property. Here we are. And then she goes, Mama, like, Amy, don't worry. Don't talk to anybody. You're fine. I'm sure it's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just a scam. Well, guess what? Literally 7 days later on the dot. And I'm like, this guy must have timed it because I was not in the Walmart shopping center. I don't know where I was at that point. Next thing I know, I get the phone call and it said Ogden, Utah. And I'm like, okay,
it's him.
Yeah. There's
no, got some water. Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the guy. So I call and I'm like, good afternoon. This is Amirah. He goes, Amirah, can you check your email? This is officer or investigator, so-and-so. So I'm like, okay, I check my email. And then, actually, I lied. It was a Friday morning at 8:30 in the morning, right before I was going to show a property at 9 o'clock in the Cove because I was waiting for the client. And this came in my mind because I immediately texted an attorney friend. I was on the phone. I checked my email. And it said, there's the subpoena for you to talk. And it literally said, the FBI and the IRS federal government they want to talk to me. And I'm like, Amirah, me, the FBI, the IRS, federal criminal, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, he goes, you told me you needed proof. Here's the proof. It's in your email. This is an official like service. Da, 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 da. I said, okay, I'm at work. I will get to it by end of day. Click, click, called my attorney friend. And I'm like, hey, can I send you something? Do I need to hire a business attorney or do I need to hire a criminal attorney? And is this person real or is someone pulling my leg? I immediately send it to him. And then he's like, Amirah, this is criminal. And I was like, how do you know? He goes, because it says criminal. And
literally, yeah.
Next thing I know, hired an attorney. It was a drawn out process. That was in January. And in June, I had to go testify in LA at the courthouse on the 12th floor. My leg was like shaking and it was really scary.
Yeah. Well, you didn't do anything wrong.
I did not do anything wrong.
But it's still scary because you never know.
No.
You know, you could have been pulled into something and you could have gotten in trouble for some reason. You could have gotten your license taken away just by unknowingly doing something that you weren't supposed to do, but you know.
And you know what? God is so good because my file was so clean. It was so documented and I got lucky, I guess, but I didn't do it. I did everything the right way. Mm-hmm. And it was just crazy that you just never know who you're going to meet and you never know where this transaction is going to take you. And I probably didn't sleep for 6 months, literally from the day that I got served to my court case. Yeah. I was so scared. And I did business as usual. Nobody knew about it. I didn't tell anybody. I literally told my parents because I was like, if I go missing, this is why. Yeah. And I don't think I told the team. And I told the team, I think the week that I was leaving to LA to testify. Dang. And so that was heavy because when you pride yourself on like your ethics in terms of honesty, transparency, and you really built a business that way and referrals. And then you find yourself in a courtroom. Yeah. And they just kind of flipped your world upside down for a second. Yeah. And you know what? I wasn't the only realtor there. So it made me feel a little bit better. Yeah. It was part of a big old scam. And I wasn't alone, but God is so good to me because my transaction did not close. We did not get paid. Nobody's properly got transferred. My other fellow realtor colleagues that I saw from a distance. Yeah. Not the same results. So I got really lucky. Yeah. Well, see, that's one of those stories that obviously you kind of wish never happened. Totally. But it's a great story to tell. Yeah. It's a good story. It's quite the story. It's not the story to be a part of. Yeah. But you never know who you're going to get. Yeah. And you know what? We never know who we're going to get in the future because I'm sure that we'll have a few more of these to tell. Oh, yeah. Probably this year, we're going to get a few. Yeah. And I would say there is an element of it that is like kind of funny and you're like, oh, that was kind of odd. Not that particular experience. Right. But then there's also an element of like true safety in our business. Oh, 1,000%. There's been times where I've told you, or I don't even go to places by myself sometimes because I'm like, hey, if I don't feel comfortable or I get some kind of weird vibe, I too have now learned to tell somebody real quick, I don't think this is going to work out. Yeah. So, yeah, which is good. I think I have for safety, which I don't use enough, but I should, it's like I forgot what brand it's from, but you basically either wear it as a necklace and it's like a little pendant thing, or you could use it as a bracelet and then you basically just click it twice. Yeah. Oh, it's still recording. It's all good. Okay. And you just basically click it twice and then it goes off to your emergency contacts in 911. So there is things now that will help you, you know, feel safer. But yes, still, if you feel uncomfortable, definitely either don't go, bring somebody with you and kind of just, it's funny. I got this email, which I knew was a scam. I really did. Yeah, but you never know. It's sales. But I got an email and it was this person. It was like, hi, my name is Aiden. I'm looking to purchase a home in India for between $2.5 and $3 million. And, you know, I would like for you to help me. And hey, did you get that on like Tuesday of last week? I got it. I think it was that weekend. Oh, how funny. Yeah. Oh, you did? Yeah. So I was like, it's probably a scam. But then I read in the Sirhan book that he said that he basically did a transaction and then he like flew to Paris and like all these things and he like hunted this guy down. He got the papers signed. I'm like, is that story real? But regardless, I was like, okay,
because usually in those scam emails, they won't say a specific area, right? They'll be just be like, my name, I'm looking for this, but he was specific on the area. So then I emailed them back and I was like, hey, I'd love to work with you. Can you please let me know a little bit more about what you're looking for? And then he emailed me back, told me what he was looking for. But then at the end, he said, can you talk to me on WhatsApp? Because that's where I feel the most comfortable. And I just got like this weird feeling. So I was just like, if you're buying a $2 million house, you have a realtor. Like, you're not like sending random emails to me asking to buy a house.
It's true. I mean, one day they will, but it's true. Especially that email, and you work in sales. Like, if you don't actually reply back, and it's not the prince of wherever, you're like, okay, it's every realtor has done that.
Yeah.
And
I just knew.
I read that email twice.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I'm
So
like,
it was the same person.
Yes. And I'm like, it was well written.
Yeah. It was funny because at first in my head, I was like, huh, like, well, maybe it is real.
Yeah. It felt and sounded real.
But then I was like, no, I just knew it wasn't. And you know what? He never emailed me again. And I feel like if he would have emailed me one more time, he never emailed me again.
Okay. You want to know what's funny? Because I saw that email and I thought to myself, no, this is a scam. I'm not going to reply. And then I was like, what kind of leader and what kind of example are you to your team? You prospect, someone inquires, you reply back. And then what if it's one of your clients, just trying to see if you reply back? And then I was like, let me reread this email. And then I was like, this is all fake.
I honestly,
yeah.
Well, I had one thought. Well, first I was like, I should reply. And then my second thought, I was like, is Amirah like trying to see if I'm going to reply to this message or something?
That's
like
the
testing
accountability
me?
that's within the team, because I literally was like, I owe it to my team. I can't ask my team to show up a certain way if I'm not going to show up. So it's crazy that you said that, because I think you replied knowing like it's that applying that 1% rule.
Right,
You're
literally.
like, you know what? I've been practicing replying better or being more consistent or prospecting, and it goes with that.
Yeah.
So that's funny, because I thought the same thing. I was like,
I literally thought for a second, I was like, maybe Amirah is trying to see if I'm going to reply and like this is really her. But then I thought she wouldn't do that.
No, it's not me.
She would not take the time out of her day to do that.
No, I would not.
So those are our client stories. I'm sure we're going to have more in the future to share with you all. We love our clients. We really, really do. We love each and every one of them. And it's kind of just funny to be able to share some kind of, like what would I say?
Like our quirky experiences.
Yeah, quirky.
It's definitely not something of practice where we're like, oh my God.
No, not at all. It's just fun to share those quirky stories that we get sometimes, and just makes, real estate fun.
Yeah, which we'll have to end and come back with Damon. He told me a hilarious story. Did he tell you about the UFOs?
No.
Oh.
No, but I got to hear about the UFOs.
When Damon comes back, we're going to have him in a future podcast share the UFO story.
Okay.
It had me rolling.
Oh my gosh,
I'm surprised he hasn't told you. It's really
No,
funny.
he hasn't told me, but we're going to get Damon on here, and he's going to share his client story. So, all right. Well, thank you for coming to episode 3 of Off the Market.
Yeah.
I mean, episode 2.
Episode 2.
Episode 2 of Off the Market, and we will see you next week for episode 3. Not sure what we're going to talk about yet, but it's going to be something fun. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye.